Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's Live at 9:45 with me, your host, Adam Van Ord of Van Ord Customs. And I think this week's episode is kind of wrong because it's actually last week's episode. So if you haven't been following along and you don't know what's happening, I've been having all kinds of internet issues. When I go to post do my newest live stream, my internet service drops out currently on Thursday nights. Long story short, over the last week, I've spent 6+ hours working with the internet service provider that I currently have, who is the best option for our area. We ran new cable from my modem all the way out of my house and all the way to the pole, so there is not a single error going on from where it connects to there to my computer. So I guess we'll see what happens with that and where things go. There are still issues in our area on a random basis that no one can seem to track down or figure out. So I will continue to be a thorn in their side until I have consistent internet so I can continue to bring you guys the best possible interviews that I can. I also still have one scheduled for this week on Thursday. I'm not going to do a lot of announcing with it because I don't even know if it'll happen based on the problems we've been having. All of that set aside, I'm excited to bring you guys the Rust Belt Crawlers. Gentlemen, they are from Ohio, I believe. I feel like maybe even partially in PA, because I know some people from PA and some people from Ohio who go to that group. For the life of me, I can't remember it right now, but I'm sure they'll correct me, and they're probably laughing at me right now as I'm telling you this. On top of all of that, once I bring them over, we'll do our normal thing, our normal interview. The only things I ask from all of you out there are a couple things. Keep it interactive, chat away, hang out with us, but please keep it PG. I want to be able to keep things kind of family friendly so that anybody who tunes in could check into what's going on and see it, enjoy it, and have a good time. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to bring them over and hopefully unmute their mic and fire this thing up and get this interview started because we should have done this last Thursday. So let's get this thing moving. All right, guys, how's it going tonight?
Good. How you guys doing?
Going good.
I'm doing great. I don't know about all these people watching. Let's see how they're doing. But anyway, let's fire up the first question I typically fire up as I'm moving windows around and so on and so forth. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and a little bit about what kind of got you started in the hobby in general.
Well, I've been into the hobby since I was about 8 years old. That's 30 some odd years ago. Kind of old. Started off with a Go Fast back then, which is the grasshopper, and then kind of grew up and got out of it in my teen years and got into racing motorcycles and sold those and got back into RC and met up with this guy. We ended up working together at a hobby shop, and here I am. Tell you a little bit more about himself.
Yeah, so I'm Josh, and I'm an electrical engineer, and I've been into the hobby since I was about 6. Started out with the Traxxas Stampede as my first one. I've been in all sorts of RC, you name it, and I've done it. I've flown planes, I've raced cars, I've crawled multiple different vehicles. I flew planes, helicopters. I've also, been in the hobby throughout the whole time. I really hadn't got out of it. Slowed down a little bit of it, but then, kept it going in some form or fashion. Also been into, the real thing, so crawling kind of came natural to me. But that's a little excerpt about me.
Right. So, next question. Do you guys remember what first got you in the hobby as a whole?
Probably getting the first Tower Hobbies magazine. My dad got one. I don't even know where he got it, but he brought Tower Hobbies magazine home, and I think it's probably from my uncle because he used to fly airplanes, build airplanes, and fly them.
Right.
And through, and I see this buggy, and it's the grasshopper, and it's lost my mind over it. I'd save up all my allowance to buy it. And I beat the living tar out of that car. I wish I could get another. They don't build them like they used to anymore at all. But yeah, it's Tower Hobbies what got me into the grasshopper.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, I have to give credit to my mom. She just got fed up with buying the Radio Shack toys and things like that. she went out and found found some hobby grade RC cars, and for my like 6th birthday, she went out and bought me a Traxxas Stampede, gave it to me for my birthday, and then I found a racetrack that some guys I knew, like his parents actually ran the place, so I started racing there, and got into that, and then my dad supported me with that, and my mom supported me with that, and just kept it going throughout.
Awesome. It's nice to have the support of family and parents and so on and so forth. And so you guys got in when you were fairly young, so I could see that being completely necessary and so on and so forth. People are talking about having beards and being rusty. Comments. Interesting comments going on there. Nice to see you guys commenting and hanging around. But anyway, let's get back to what we've got going on here. If you weren't into the RC hobby as heavily as you guys are, what do you think your hobby of choice would be?
I don't know. I like things that go bang a lot, and I enjoy motorcycles a lot. Like I said, I worked for a dealership for years, and I ended up drag racing one of the slowest motorcycles in the world. Hard to get them to go fast, but you can tick a lot of people off in cars with a motorcycle and ride it home with a smile on your face. It's just a beautiful thing. But yeah, I'd probably be shooting my guns and riding motorcycles.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would be the one-to-one Jeeps. I'm in off-road, and I like going wheel and things like that. So if I wasn't into the little ones, I'd be into the one-to-ones out there with that, just as I have one, that I do have set up as a trail rig and, as a one-to-one. So I do take it off-road and everything. So like I said, crawling kind of came natural to me because I kind of got into crawling about the same time I got my Jeep. So, I was wheeling the real thing and wheeling the 10 scale version of it.
Sweet. That's awesome. I know there's a lot of guys out there that do that. I'm not sure how many people do or do not do that. I kind of ended up here because I didn't really have the option of doing that at the time. And I probably could now if I sold all of the RC stuff. Probably could make that into a one-to-one. There isn't really anywhere very close to me. I mean, we have stuff in PA, but it's on the other side of the state. You'd be driving a significant distance to go drive your truck off road and hopefully make it back. So, so if you guys are into all the scale stuff, my next question is like kind of that obligatory 2-part question of the big tires or small tires, and then brushed or brushless in the motor department.
I would say, big tire or small. I'm going to say medium tire because I run a tall 1.9. Normally, I'm usually running a 4.5 or sometimes a 4.75. But I'm a medium tire guy. And brushed or brushless, I just went over to brushless in the truck I just built this year. And I'm thinking about going brushless in my trail truck now. I like the power and I like just the tunability of it. I can get it to do things that I can't get a brush motor.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it depends on what class I'm in. Normally, I've ran real small tires on my class 1s and things like that. But normally, if I'm trying to comp with a class 2, I try to max out the roll on that, going with the 4.75 tire. Give me the most that I can get out of that. So it depends on the class, I guess, to answer the big tire, small tire question. As far as the brushed or brushless, ever since brushless came out, I've been there. I did run brushed in my crawlers, when I first had them going. I had no problem, getting a brush motor to do the job, but I just like the control of the brushless and, how smooth it is, with the sensored systems. So that's my 2 cents on those.
Right, and I'd have to say that I tend to favor the brushless system as well currently. But with like a very scale build, I like a brushed motor. I don't feel the need for that instant oomph, that power, And so the brushed motor is definitely nice when it comes to that. So my next question, guys, is what do you like most about the scale RC portion of the hobby?
Everything about it, just there's always something new around the corner. Every time you go to an event or meet somebody new, they got something, or somebody has something you haven't seen before.
Right.
And there's some of the engineering that goes into these trucks that people are hand building. There's just that's what I like to look at. Like uh, Derek Johnson has his Class 3 truck. That's a nice looking truck the way he's got everything built up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Asher's got a pretty nice rig. Some of the engineering he's got into that. I just stuff you don't see.
Right. People getting creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really the thing I like about it is, with how scale it is, it lets you be unique. And I know that, coming from the one-to-one field of Jeeps and things like that, there's so many options, for the one-to-ones and the scale rigs that, in the RC world that you can make it whatever you want and you can really make it unique. And, I know personally I like being a unique guy. I don't like having what everybody else has. I want something that's, custom and, that if you see it, it's, whose rig that is.
Right. Right, and I'm with you. You guys know that. I mean, I've talked about it 100 times on this show and everywhere I go, but unique is a big thing for me. I want to stand apart. I want to show up and people be like, yeah, that's Adam's truck. So I definitely get that idea. I get that feeling. So the next portion that I want to do with you guys is a little bit of show and tell. So you guys can pick one of those trucks that are kicking around behind you there, pull it down, talk about it a little bit, show it off, discuss it, and so on and so forth. The other thing that I think we also didn't do is maybe I missed it as I was clicking through windows, but I'm not sure that you guys introduced yourselves like each one of you. So we have Steve and Josh, but which one's Steve and which one's Josh? Because I'm not 100% sure we did that. And I know that's a formality, but for anybody who doesn't know you, might be nice.
Or beard, whatever. But yeah, I'm the Steve from Rust Belt.
And
Nice.
I'm Polish, and a lot of people that have known me for a long time in the hobby, and back when I used to work in the hobby shop and stuff, I'm also known as Ginger. So, it depends on how long you've known me.
Fair enough. All right, so why don't we pull out one of those trucks and discuss it, show it off, talk a little bit about your build and what you've got going on, what you're working with.
And go, Steve.
Oh crap! No, one here. This is the truck that started out as someone else's truck years ago. Ed Picola and Matt Lockwood built this truck, I do believe, and I've always liked this truck. Got into it. And I ended up getting my hands on it and changed it around a little bit, put some different axles under it. And this is what I run brushless, and it's still called Booger. It's just not the bright marker green paint that it was when I got it. I got olive drab now, but this is my go-to truck for right now, unless I'm going to do a long trail run, then I'm going to run my other truck. But that's my almost Sorka legal truck right now.
What's not legal about it at the moment?
Cage and wheelbase.
Oh, good times, good times.
My cage isn't quite wide enough, and my wheelbase is a little bit too long for the chassis, so I got to shorten it up a bit.
Fair enough. Yep, those rules, you got to pay attention or they'll get you. So, all right. Long introductions, all those normal questions, all of that good stuff. And now we get to kind of the meat of what's going on here. So the two of you or I believe the two of you started the Rust Belt Crawlers thing. Can you tell us a little bit about how it got started, where the name came from, how long it's been around, those details?
Rust Belt Crawlers, we started, we're going in our third year. In August will be 3 years we started this. We started just because we got a few clubs around where we're at, and we just felt that we wanted to give people some other places to crawl and other ways to crawl. Like, we don't do competitions at all. We do run what you brung G6 style events where I don't care if you have a Radio Shack or Walmart car. You think what we do, bring it. Let's find out. If it doesn't make it, let's figure out how we can make it through it. And that's in the name Rust Belt. We live in the Mahoning Valley in by Youngstown, Ohio, and it's pretty much known as the Rust Belt here. So the name just kind of stuck. It was just meant to be. Yep.
Right. Good answer. Good answer. So, one of the things that really kind of, when I first met you guys, and I met you, I remember the first time I met you, I don't know if it was at one of the Arciatic comps or if it was at East Coast, but I remember talking to you, Steve, specifically a lot at East Coast, about some of the stuff you're doing. And one of the things that really kind of caught my attention that is different from a lot of the other groups, at least within my general radius, is that you host some crawls for charities. Can you talk a little bit about those, and maybe a little bit about like kind of what led to the decision to go that route?
I sure can. We have one at the end of this month on the 28th, which is for cystic fibrosis. And I wanted to do a benefit or a charity run for a long time. And there's a guy that I go to church with that he's part of our club, and his son has cystic fibrosis.
Okay.
And my wife goes, why don't you try to do a benefit run for them? Okay, cool. So I did that, and that was last year. And we raised about $700 for them out of 13 people through the benefit run, and decided to do it again this year. And we got another guy, Ryan Dunbar, out of PA. Both of his daughters have cystic fibrosis. And I do believe there's a couple other people in our club, their kids have cystic fibrosis. So it's kind of a no-brainer for us to keep this going every year.
Right.
And I want to get bigger and bigger every year. I'm to the point where I can actually help somebody out. And it's fun for all of us grown-up kids to play with their toy trucks and raise money for somebody.
Right, and I mean, it's a great cause. We all get together oftentimes for competitions or for whatever, and so it's cool to see you guys kind of coming together for an even greater good than just hang out with your buddies and run trucks. Raising some money, doing it for a cause is pretty nice. It's nice to see.
Small thing to get to hang out with your friends for something like that. I mean, that's the small part of it. That's a little added bonus.
Yeah.
And we always try to pick, different foundations and things like that are more, centered around kids, because really the kids are, the next generation, and, we're going to get them involved, and, they're going to keep this hobby going, long after we're gone. So that's
right.
really who we that focus on.
And
oh yeah.
Another benefit crawl too, on September 29th. It's called, we're calling it Crawling for Wishes. It's for the Wishes Can Happen Foundation. Right. And another one of the guys in our group found out about that through a Ruritan club that he's part of, that the Ruritan donates to this. So he asked if we can do it, for them. Sure, we definitely can. So we're just waiting on a venue for that, trying to figure out a place where we can have that one at.
That's awesome, guys, and I absolutely totally dig it. One of the things you talked about is doing stuff for kids. I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. You guys know that. That's why I have this mud truck sitting over here over my shoulder, because that's for my son. It just, I don't know. At this stage of the game, it's nice to see the younger kids getting involved, and I see more and more of them as a whole. I don't know if you guys are seeing that where you're at, but I see a lot of people like across the interwebs while I'm searching. I see a lot of that going. I want to take a couple seconds though to talk about a bunch of different things. So first and foremost, if you haven't read the video description, please go down and do that. All of the information to find these guys, Rust Belt crawlers, at least the cystic fibrosis benefit. I'm not sure if the other one is linked in there, but if you find Rust Belt crawlers, you can find that as well. All of that is in the video description, as well as all of my social media links, so on and so forth. The link to the website, to buy license plates, backdrops, whatever. Scale gate markers, any of those things. Now that I did all of that, if you are still here and you actually like what you see going on, hit that like, that subscribe, and that alert bell so you get alerted whenever we can go live. Because lately it's been kind of hit or miss, unfortunately, due to some circumstances that are a little outside of my control. So All right. Now that I said all of that stuff that I'm supposed to say at the beginning, but I'm super bad at it because I'm not a great YouTuber, just a guy trying to talk to people online. Uh, what would you say are your own personal like scale building styles when it comes to scale RC portion of what we've got going on?
Now, I guess I'll start that one. I originally started off with just a honcho that I just bobbed the cage on and ran the dog snot out of that thing for a couple of years. That's this truck sitting back here. It's been upgraded quite a bit and waiting on another upgrade. But when I built this one, I kind of went performance minded in it, and it's a belly dragger, but I want a good approach angle, a good departure angle. That's why it's got such a long wheelbase for that. And I got hosed on that one because I started reading Sorka rules and it doesn't match. So I try to go performance when it comes to my newer builds. I just got to modify them so they fit the standards now.
Right.
And I kind of, I used to go for more performance wise and things like that, but I had the Lexan bodies and things like that. And then I was really going through the points and trying to get more scale points. So I decided about last year that I would go, full on scale and max out as many points as I could. So, last year for ECSC, I looked at how many points scale wise I'd need, and I just focused on building scale rigs that would max out those scale points. So I built the class one and, went off for scale, which, going through like the Keystone series and things like that kind of hurt me a little bit because I had land anchors for bumpers and things like that. People look pretty scale, but as far as functionality goes, they hurt me a little bit, when I was on the course. But so it's something that I guess I went a little too far with the scale, and I got to get back to a little bit more in the performance mind. But I have some upcoming changes to these rigs that'll change them over to a little bit more performance based again.
Gotcha. So next question that isn't on your paper, so you didn't get any chance to prepare for this one. When you go to build, kind of talked a little bit about your thought process. Do you ever build specifically with the competition in mind and like build straight to the rules, or do you build and then hope the rule applies, or do you build for scale and hope that it's performance? Like what's the game plan there? Like you talked a little bit about it, Josh, alluded a little bit to it, but like what do you kind of do there? Like, and I'm curious from both of you.
So I'll start out since I kind of alluded to that already. When it comes to looking at that, I kind of, I'm a Jeep guy through and through. So I normally try to pick something that's a Jeep, something in the Jeep family. And, then I go for it. And, I start looking at it and I start going for what I think looks good. And then I have that, inkling in the back of my mind saying, well, you need to make this a little bit more performance, based. And so I try to go, with the largest tire I can in that class, and try to get the most I can there, and try to maximize my functional items so that I can use those and try to have them easily accessible and things like that. Because I have used the sand ramps and things before, and you don't get points for negative points taken off for or well, I guess using point. Yeah, you don't get pointed for using them. So something it's there, it's a functional item, it gets me negative points, and I don't get any points against me when I'm actually in the comp with them. So I kind of, look at it and kind of build as I go. It's something, and I do keep the rules in the back of my mind, because after all, I want to be able to get the most points out of the rig, and, I want to be able to go to the comps and, not have my rig, get declined because I'm not abiding by one of the rules.
Right.
Build it and hope like crap that it meets all their standards. Reach into my box and grab whatever I can to add points to it.
Fair enough. And you know what? I think that a lot of people build like that, Steve, which is kind of why I brought it up. Like, so what amazed me is I'm doing a build series. Well, maybe. I mean, like, I started the build series. I haven't worked on it further, but I need to. Where I'm building up a Red Cat Gen 8, the pack kit, and I'm building it to kind of comp rig-esque. And so in my first video, I went down through all the scale points. Before I started building, like I went over everything I was going to do to the truck, chose to do, and I got a lot of comments on there like, wow, I can't believe you build like that. Like that's very different. I never thought to do that. So I'm now that's kind of one of those things that's ingrained in my mind. Like, how does everybody else do it? Like, I just did it that way. I don't know. So thank you for answering that. That was kind of like a personal, like, I just want to know. All right. So posing a question to people who are watching, what is your build style? What do you do? And how do you choose the way you build your trucks? And for anybody who doesn't realize or know what's going on, we're talking about Sorka events. If you don't know what Sorka is, you can find it at sorka.com. It's the rule set. Depending on the competitions, get-togethers in your area, it's one of the bigger ones in our general area for hosting some of the bigger events. So most people adhere to rules that are fairly similar to Sorka. All right. Now, the thing everybody wants to see, again, we're going to another show and tell. So you guys pick which one of you wants to show and tell. Show off your creation, tell us a little bit about it, and kind of describe the process there.
So I'll go on this one. I'll pick my class 2. So, like I kind of alluded to, I went more for scale looks. So it's kind of in the camera there. So I went more for the scale looks, and I wanted something that would maximize my Sorka points. So this is a hard body. It's got the opening doors and everything. I got my passenger in there. I got a driver in there as well. I don't know if you can kind of see him. And then this one I kind of went for more of a zombie, apocalypse type theme, a little bit to it, where I, have the, zombie stickers on it. I got the, skeleton on the hood. I have, in the back seat, I have an axe. So I kind of went a little bit more for the zombie theme, and, just wanted something that would, look good and, still be kind of aggressive looking and, for the zombie theme. But, it's my class 2 rig. It will go under the knife here in a little bit, so I won't have this body on it for much longer. But that's the one I've had for a little while.
Yeah. So the sticker on the hood, Josh comes to events. Both of you guys do. Josh and Steve come to events that I go to in the winter series. So, the Jeep showed up, and I was like, that's a sweet Jeep. It's awesome. Love it. And I'm paying attention. I'm shooting video, shooting pictures. And then like out of nowhere, I caught the sticker on the hood, and I was like, man, just like, boom, set it off. I love it. So, I think you told me a little bit about that. You want to tell them a little bit about that sticker on the hood, where it came from, kind of how it got there?
Yeah, so I went online and, did some searching and things like that, and found this company out of, I think it was California. I want to say it was Darkside Studios. Their logo's on the corner of that sticker. And it was originally supposed to be a wrap for an axial, the Jeep JK, U-body. And I bought it thinking, I could get this hard body. They looked about the same. I figured the body lines would match up and everything. And, when I actually got the wrap and everything and started laying it out, I realized then how much different the Lexan body actually were. So the only thing I got to use out of that wrap was the hood sticker. But, when it came down to it, I put the hood sticker on and, I just painted the rest of the Jeep blue, and, it kind of fit, it worked. And, I liked the way it came out.
Yeah, I like that it's like very in your face when you're close, but if you're a little bit away, it's really understated. Like you don't even know it's there. So it kind of just looks like you like carbon fibered the hood or painted the black or something until you get up close, and then you can really see it. So I dig it. So before I ask any more questions, I'm going to address some of the things that are going on in the comments. First off, Corey, I am definitely going to be continuing the pack kit build series. Life has just gotten in the way, and on top of that, all these internet problems. I mean, I literally spent 6 hours last week trying to solve internet issues. That takes up any build time I may possibly ever have for the pack kit. I like the styling choices you guys have made. And then there's a question from Rob Milton that says, You guys use 6-inch figures as the driver and passenger, something in like the Marvel Legends size scale. I don't know about you guys, but I can speak to the two types of things that I use, and then we'll hear what you guys use for driver figures. One of the things that I use is I use the scale driver figures from the RC Addict store. I can link them in the video description after the video is over. They're really nice because they're posable, so like they have screws that put them together, and then you can move all of their joints and so on and so forth. You can paint them whatever color you want, give them clothes if you want. I mean, it's kind of limitless, and they fit really well. The other thing I like to use is, if I can find them, figures that are like from movies or TV shows. Like I've used some from The Walking Dead. I've used so on and so forth. And the only problem with those is then you've got to get creative because their joints don't bend. So like you have to like saw their legs off and reattach them in seated positions. Huge pain in the butt. So it all depends on what exactly you're looking for and how. I kind of just chance on them. I look for them in the clearance section at FYE. I don't know about you guys. What do you do?
Clearance section. And it's usually, 5'7" minimum is a height on it. So
I think it's 5.5 minimum. So
I found that the WWE wrestling figurines are about the right size.
That's what I just pulled the passenger out of mine, and that's what this is. It's a WWE diva wrestler, and she fit my hard body aside from her feet. So I get the knees up points on it, but she is posable, so I could actually get her to, pose her into a seated position, and just have to chop her feet off there. So I get the knees up, so it gets me some of them.
Right. So I actually had one time. I built a truck, and it had the like Jax Teller and name Clay. What's the other guy's name from man, my mind is blanking. Come on, I'm drawing on you, Steve, with the motorcycle stuff.
You were right. It's Clay.
There we go. Jackson Clay. And so what I did is their legs were too long. So I cut the top of their legs off and I shifted them under their butts and kind of redesigned them so their legs were a little on the short side, but they fit perfectly and I got all the points. So, little tip for you all, if you need to cut some legs down on your figures, you can go ahead and do that. Just reading a bunch of comments, WWE figures, Marvel figures. All right, hacking legs if needed. Hey, you guys are figuring it out in the comments. We'll move on with our question. All right, so for these newer people that we've got watching, for anybody out there who picks this up, who are some of your influences in the scale segment of our hobby? And if you were going to pick someone to be on the show, who would you pick and why?
Oh geez, there's so many good people in this hobby, and I couldn't even begin to pinpoint one or another. Probably just everybody that I met and talked to, just like everything about it all. And someone on the show, I don't know, maybe Tom Asher. I don't know if you've interviewed him yet or not.
I did interview him last year. You can find that in the season 1 playlist if you're interested, guys. Not saying that I won't bring him back. I've started bringing some people back here and there. And I would love to have Tom on again. He's doing something really cool this summer, actually, a whole different approach to scale competition. So he'll probably make the list again this summer or fall, talking about that after he's got some more of those belt. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, I'm really with Steve. I mean, it really comes down to as far as like somebody to look at. I mean, I really think that anybody could fit that role because I go to different events and things like that, and I just see the builds that people put together, and there's builds that I really like, and there's builds that I like parts of. So it really comes down to it's just the other people's builds kind of get my mind working on, well, that's a cool idea. I think I could, incorporate that into my build in a different way, but, it kind of gets my mind working. So really just a lot of different people. So I don't really have one pinpointed person, kind of like Steve, but in that aspect, it really, I like taking the bits and pieces of what everybody has to offer and, trying to, incorporate it into something that I, want to make into my own.
Right. So along those lines, and I'm sure you guys are going to be super diplomatic about this answer too, but you're not allowed. You have to pick one. What is your favorite build out there floating around the internet that is not your own? Like, keep seeing it pop up on your feeds. Every time it stops you, you follow it. You follow the progress. What one out there is catching your eye?
It's going to have to be your space corn. Every time I go to an event, you're there. I watch you run that truck, and that thing it sticks to whatever you put it on. Your space corn's probably got to be my all-time favorite right now.
Yeah, and I'll second that. I mean, that thing, that truck just works. I mean, it's a really nice build.
Well, thank you. I I will totally say thank you to that. Not a lot of people thrive on that one, so we'll say thank you there for sure. And I enjoy it. I think it's getting to the point now though where, in all honesty, it's getting clapped out because all the stuff on it's kind of old and it's been beat on for several years. But on top of that, it's getting to the point where some of these new trucks are getting a lot harder to beat. There are some new technologies, some new things out there that I don't have on that truck that definitely seem to be an advantage over what I'm currently. So my next question is, you guys are kind of a newer group. You've got new people coming out all the time, I would guess. What is something that you would give for advice to new people who are just starting out and beginning into this hobby? And I want to pose that to all of you guys in the comments as well. What advice do you give to other new people who are starting out in the hobby? So go ahead, guys.
Ask questions. Ask as many questions as you can to whoever you can. I try to tell people, if I don't have the answer, I'll try to find the answer, or I'll find somebody that knows the answer. And I don't have all the great answers. I still put crap together and hope it works.
I think that's what we all do, man. But I also like your idea of ask questions, because one of the things that I found inside of this interview series was like the whole goal was to make people approachable. So like I've interviewed like Josh Theed and Matt Kett, and those guys are super approachable. Like I've met Matt in person. Like we've like spent time hanging out, and the reality is like they're just a big scale RC truck nerd like all the rest of you. If you have questions, don't be afraid to ask people questions. So I'm glad that you said that, because that's one of the that I try to give as a takeaway for all of what's going on. How about you, Josh? What do you have to say to new people?
Yeah, my advice would be, just take that first step, get into the hobby. It doesn't matter what you're driving. There's a lot of different rigs out there, and it's something that, somebody with a red cat, can have just as much fun as somebody with a $1,000 rig. So it's something that, just get into the hobby, and, the opportunities that this hobby has to offer are endless. So, once you're in it, you can, conform that rig into anything that you want. So just really, it doesn't matter what you have to get into, just take that first step.
Right. You're knocking my red cat over here.
I'm saying it's, a good step to get into. It's one of the good rigs that are easy to get into.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I actually really like them, and I was a red cat naysayer for a long time. I like it. And then we have all those club trucks where they have we have all of those, and they've been thrashed on. They just keep going. So I'm reading comments. I like the one that says, build what you like, then drive it. Drive the crap out of it. Great as it breaks. All right, so where do you guys see the scale crawling community heading in coming years?
I don't know. It's going to be going. I think it's going to go crazy. More people are getting into it. More companies are stepping up their game, like Red Cat. I was a Red Cat naysayer for a while, and I ended up getting some. And this new Gen 8's it's a nice truck. It does a lot that, my trucks can't really do.
Right.
You know, I think it's just going to keep growing and growing. Yeah, I think Red Cat's going to surpass some other companies, and that might be like the next. I hate to say it, but the next Axial might end up being Red Cat.
Yeah, and it's something that I feel like it's going more scale. I got back into crawling. When I first got into crawling, the scale world kind of didn't exist. It was all in the comp crawlers and things like that. So it's really shifted to the scale world, and I really like where it's going. And I think it's going to continue to pursue that route, and get more and more scale, so that every day something else is coming out, and it looks just like something that you'd see on the road, or in the trails, what it may be.
Right. And I would agree with you guys. It just keeps progressing and getting better and better and better. My next question, I'm actually going to change the way that I'm wording it. And so I'm going to word it this way. And I always pick something along the lines of sponsorship. And because you guys are newer as a group, and you're newer to hosting events where you're seeking out support and sponsorship, can you elaborate to some people who are a little bit like beginner stage of reaching out to companies and people and seeking their support for what you've got going on? How do you take that process on? Let's say for the cystic fibrosis crawl, I know that you've reached out to some people for some donations and so on and so forth. How do you go about doing something like that?
We wrote a letter up and sent it out to a bunch of places, basically stating, this is what we're doing. We are not in this at all for any monetary value. We
Right.
take money out of this. We actually take money out of our pockets to get these events going, and just to help out and give the people that come to our events, they're paying to go to this event, which all the money is donated. To give them something in return besides the satisfaction of helping out, kids that need the help. Let them take something home with them. Besides the memories of the run and the satisfaction of
Right.
Donating. But yeah, it's pretty much we'll put your name out there. We'll tag you, hashtag you in all of our pictures that we put up after the event, so you can get some publicity that way. And it's pretty much how we have it set up.
All right, Josh, anything to add to that?
No, I think Steve covered it very well, and he took the words right out of my mouth in that one. That's really what we've done, and like Steve said, we've reached out to anybody and everyone, and just tried to get them on board with what we're doing, and trying to make it the best of what we can for everyone we can.
All right. Well, what should we expect to see next coming from Rust Belt Crawlers? Or either one of you specifically, your choice.
You're not going to see much out of me except for my builds and me just showing up at events that I can get to. I got kind of a large family, so obviously my family comes first. This is kind of like my third job here. My first job is my family. My second's my real job. But just the events that we're putting out. A lot of them. Right now we have 2 charity events a year, and hopefully I would like to bring another one on if we can. I start to feel like asking too much too quick.
Right.
I'd kind of take our time at that, but check out our page and the events link on our page, and come out and just hang out with us.
Right, which, by the way, is in the description for the video. So if you haven't checked out their stuff in the video description, please do so. All the links to the Rust Belt Crawler stuff, and especially the Cystic Fibrosis event. And again, I'm not sure about the one in September, but if it's not there, they can send me a link and we can put it there as well. So keep going. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all under our page, and our page is a closed group right now.
Yeah.
But we did make our cystic fibrosis event a public event, and we're going to start transferring all of our events over to public, so people in other clubs can see it, and anybody can find the events that we're putting on. So it's easier for everybody else and easier on us too.
Right.
So
have you guys thought about reaching out to Steve Martin and the RC Rock Crawl stuff? So and you're looking at me like maybe you haven't and you don't know what I'm talking about. So for anybody out there who doesn't know what I'm talking about, you guys might know, but for anybody out there who doesn't know what I'm talking about, Steve Martin does like this like database of events. So it's called like RC Rock Crawl, and if you go check it out, he just devotes a bunch of time to throwing everybody's events together. So hopefully you find an event area. But back to you guys. Have you contacted him?
I've thought about it. I've not contacted him about it yet because honestly, I'm kind of tech illiterate. I'm kind of person. I got to have my kids explain to me how I use a stinking iPhone half the time. So that's something that I'll probably have to try to delegate to somebody else in our club to get a hold of Steve Martin.
Right. And so for people who don't know, like RC Rock Crawl is it's a great resource. There's tons of events on there. His goal is to put them all on there, and he works very tirelessly at it and receives no monetary funding whatsoever. It's all just out of the goodness of his heart. I think he's crazy. I think it's a lot of work, but it's a great resource. So as we kind of boil down to the end here, is there anything that I missed? Anything that you guys need to talk about that we haven't talked about yet? Anything you want to bring up?
I don't know. It's a pretty good interview, I thought, on my end. Oh, yeah. I'm not watching it, though, so I'm not watching it this week.
It's fair. It's way different, right? So
come find our club. Come find our group on Facebook and ask to join it. And one of the admins will be happy to accept you into the group.
Right.
And then, like Steve said, we have events, scheduled all through the spring, summer, and fall here, through all the nicer months over here in the East Coast. So, come find us, after you've joined our page and things like that, come find us at one of the events and, just have a good time with us and, have fun crawling.
Yep.
Awesome. So if you guys don't have anything else to add, I'm going to say thank you for doing the interview, and thank you for bearing with me as I had all these internet issues and being very touch and go, and being able to like do this last minute tonight, even though I usually like to have some forewarning and put things out all over the internet, but the internet was working, so we just kind of went with it. But thank you for dealing with all of that. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having us on the show. I appreciate it. All
right. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go, and I will finish the show up here and do all of those things. So again, thank you for being on. I genuinely appreciate it, and I'm going to get things finished up. So I'll talk to you guys later.
See you later.
See ya.
See ya. All right, guys, so that does it for this week's episode of Live at 9:45, which was last week's episode. So there should be another one this Thursday as long as internet stuff works well. I have a couple of other things very quick I want to talk to you about. First and foremost, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so. Hit the alert bell so you get notified when we go live, because it's been very touch and go. Additionally, if you haven't checked out the video description, please do so. All the links to the stuff for Rust Belt Crawlers are there, and support those guys. Check out their events. Look at all those things. Check out the RC Rock Crawl stuff, which is not in the links down below, but I could maybe put it there if I remember, hopefully, fingers crossed. Additionally, last thing I want to mention, there is a new individual who is doing some live interviews. His name is, I'm going to butcher it. I knew it. MJ Cummings. His channel is Wrecker RC. He's trying to hit every Tuesday or Tuesdays in a similar time slot to mine. He is on my featured channel list here on this channel. Go over there, show him some love, support him as well, and check out all the people he's got lined up to interview and what's going on there. As always, I'd like to first I want to check these comments because they were going off pretty quick here. Okay, thank you to all of you guys for tuning in. Nothing I need to address there that I see. If not, I'll address it with text afterwards. So anyway, thank you guys all for tuning in. I genuinely appreciate you tuning in each and every week. Thank you for bearing with me through the internet issues. I'm going to continue to fight with the internet company as they're not going to be done till my internet works. And so I'm just going to work them back up the stream until they figure out that they have to replace something really ridiculously expensive, and they're not going to want to do that. So it might be a while. Anyway, sum things up here at the end. Thank you all for tuning in. If it wasn't for all of you, it would just be me talking to a camera in my basement. And literally no one wants to see that. So I appreciate it, and I will catch you guys all at the next feed, hopefully this Thursday at 9:45. Thanks. Have a good night.